And you're about to be treated to an incredible talk by Meryl Fury, MSRN. She's been a public health nurse for 30 years, specializing in leadership and supporting the health of vulnerable populations. She climbed the ranks in federally qualified health centers before retiring to follow her true calling in food as medicine. She is certified in plant-based nutrition by eCornell and studies the use of whole plant-based foods for health. Meryl is president and CEO of Plant-Based Nutrition Movement, a nonprofit in the Chicagoland area, where the focus is educating our most at-risk populations about the life-saving benefits of diet and nutrition. Meryl is on the Pod Action Committee for Plant Communities, a member of the Medical Advisory Board of the eCornell T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies, a Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine Food for Life instructor, go upstairs and meet another one at the PCRM booth, and a member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. She presents regularly to groups seeking information on healthy eating patterns. Meryl founded and leads the 6 Million Seeds Child Nutrition Project and podcast, an innovative and an initiative to address the gross inadequacies in the way we feed children and to decrease the impact that the standard American diet has on the health of the planet. Please put your hands together for Meryl Fury.
All this is so exciting to be here. Thank you, Eric. That was a terrific introduction, albeit one I wrote myself. So thanks, everybody. This is such a thrill. Love to see the littles in the audience. Great. Family's fabulous. And I don't think I need to go over this. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for 30 years. And honestly, one of the hardest, I'm getting signals to turn on my mic. Do I have to do everything? Are we good now? All right. So one of the hardest things about being a nurse for me for all those 30 years, and I just dropped my mic anyway, was actually watching people get diagnoses that they couldn't outlive, they couldn't outrun. So working in public health, that's the people who have the least resources ever. Some of them have no resources at all. And they would get diagnoses of diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and really have nowhere to go except to take medications and come back in 3 months. That is a very painful thing to watch. So I was able to retire and now I get to do this instead. I lead this nonprofit, which is called Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. It was started by a cardiologist in the Chicagoland area. And he started it because he had the same issue. He was seeing his patients not recover, even using all of the American, Diabetes Association, American Heart Association, all of those guidelines, never saw them recover. And he wound up finding whole food plant-based nutrition as a way to make a difference for people. In our nonprofit, like Eric said, we do focus on helping people transition from less healthful ways of eating to as far as they want to go with healthy ways of eating, and that's quite a broad spectrum. We started the 6 Million Seeds Project because children are our single most vulnerable population, and we have to do better about protecting their health and making sure that they can grow to be viable members of society and adults who can contribute, and God forbid that they should actually have to take care of their parents in the course of things, so that's what that's about. So full disclosure, just so you know, you probably already understand I'm talking about kids. And some of the statistics that I'm gonna pull up to me are horrifying, and I hope they disrupt your usual pattern of thinking. The goal is to disrupt, because we are not serving our children well. We are not teaching them how to live well. We're also going to talk a little bit about the earth and a little bit about animal compassion. But let's start with a couple of assumptions. So I'm going to assume that if you have children in your life, either your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, maybe the little neighbor next door, you have children, you love your children. I mean, having a baby is something that causes a mama to turn into a mama bear, right? You fight to have those babies and we want to keep them healthy. I'm going to assume that you love them and you want them to grow up to be healthy and strong and well-adjusted and able to contribute to society. You want them to grow and flourish, right? And you would basically fight anyone who put them at risk. Anybody who would try to harm them, you would stand right in their way, no question, right? At least I would. I'm also going to assume that you love the planet. It's the only home we have. I don't have anybody offering me tickets to go to Mars, right? This is the only place I get offered to stay. So this is the only home we have. And we want, I'm going to assume that you have some sense of concern based on the climate crisis that we're in, the chaos that we see, the fires and the floods, everything. Maybe you even want to reverse that. Oops. I'm also going to assume that you probably want some form of social justice for our most vulnerable populations, be they human or non-human, or they could be ecosystems that are also vulnerable. I'm going to guess you've also heard that something upwards of 40% of the greenhouse gases are produced in the animal agricultural sector. And really, with all the ecosystem crises and the extinctions rolling faster than we can even count, it can get a little overwhelming. Okay. Sorry about that. I got stuff jumping around here. All right. All right. So I know it feels like there's not a lot that you can do. It feels like it's profit over planet all the time. Everything, right? It puts our people, the animals, the plants, the ecosystems, the entire planet at risk. We hold Veg Fest, we do Earth Day, we turn down the thermostat, we ride bikes, we have electric cars, and it just doesn't seem like anything really can move the needle on health of individuals or animals or planet. I don't know what to do with this. That. So what we're going to do is go back to our children, because our children are really the answer. If we focus on what is best for children, it would take care of the rest. Okay, because there are really 73 million children in this country, and 12 million of them live with food insecurity. There was a research study done by, I believe it was the CDC, actually was published in the Journal of the American Medical Sciences Association, that said 67% of the calories that our children eat come from ultra-processed foods. And that means foods that have virtually no nutrient value at all. They are calorie dense and processed, calorie rich and processed. We're gonna call that crap. Okay. That's what that is. And 97% of the kids in the country are eating that. Now, I'm gonna say the ones in here are not eating that, okay? But this is a small population out of the 73 million. Most children are eating very, very poorly. And that is the typical standard American diet at work for our children. There was a study done that said about, actually that 67% number comes from a study of 34,000 children. Not a small number, not a small minority at all. And that's what they found. So it's problematic what we're doing. Children have neither autonomy nor agency. They have no authority either. They don't get to make their own decisions. They're our most vulnerable population, no matter what you say, no matter where they live, no matter where they grew up, no matter who their parents are, how rich they are, what color they are, what language they speak, do they eat dinner together, do they have a dog, do they go to church, it doesn't matter. Children are very poorly fed, and they're at the mercy of the adults in the room. And one of the biggest issues they face is access to genuinely healthy food. And that I'm going to define as food that supports their growth and development, as well as the health of the planet and the other species and ecosystems. The fact is, like I said, in this country, which you can count as one of the top 10 countries in the world, no matter how you slice that, no matter how you want to define that, we are failing our children by food. So think about it. When you think about kid food in America, outside of being at a veg fest, and maybe even at a veg fest, when you think about kids food, what do you think of?
Oil, fattening,
How about some of that?
sugar.
How about, wait a minute. How about some of that too? Yes. Yeah. Okay. How about that?
Yes.
Don't forget that. We got National Donut Day where the kids get donuts at school first thing in the morning, right? Isn't that wonderful? What a country. And then there's these. Gotta have those. I live actually, Jelly Belly moved away from the town that I live in, but the Jelly Belly factory was like not less than a mile from my house. And then of course there's those things. This is the standard American diet for children, except it would also have like maybe some boxed macaroni and cheese, and it would have some sweetened cereals, and it would have maybe ice cream and cow's milk, of course, and then an apple or some baby carrots maybe thrown in every now and then. That's how that goes. You agree? Yeah, that's exactly how that looks. And this is at home. This is what people do at home when they have food, when they have access to food. We have a steady diet of ultra processed animal products. Even the chicken nuggets are ultra processed, right? So ultra processed animal products, salt, sugar, and fat. That's what we feed our children. And then we wonder why they kind of go off the rails, right? What's going on? We actually give them almost no fruits and vegetables. There was a study that was done, actually, next slide, study done by the CDC that came out in February that said large sections of our children, large whole sections of the country actually, the children didn't get any fruits or vegetables at all in the preceding 7 days. And everybody knows we have to have fruits and vegetables. This is not a mystery, right? Water is important, fruits and vegetables are important, but there are whole sections of the country that do not, the children do not get fruits and vegetables. And you don't know how many sets of consecutive 7 days that is. Is it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month and a half? Who knows? Now, these are also, in a lot of cases, the same kids are living in food insecurity, although that's not necessarily true. And these same kids are dealing with lots of different diagnoses. So, poor eating habits full of calorie-rich and processed crap foods damage the health of whole zip codes of children all across the country. Whole zip codes, especially in areas where there's very, very poor or no access to healthy food, right? But I can tell you, even in very affluent neighborhoods, this is the same diet that kids are getting. So I live in Wisconsin, which is right next to Chicago. Actually, I'm halfway between Milwaukee and Chicago. And there's one town called Winnetka, which is not super, arguably, it like really is the richest town in the Midwest. There is no one there who qualifies for free or reduced lunch. Even the slummy parts of Winnetka, those houses pull $1 million price tags, and that's not a big house. Okay, yeah, like that. Literally like that, right? I met a teacher from there not too awful long ago, and you know, I talk about food and kids all the time. So I said to her, so what do those kids eat? You know, I would think that you have a chef that comes into the school and does, you know, all kinds of great things for the kids and feeds them lunch. She said, oh, no, that doesn't happen. I said, well, do you have a cafeteria? What are the kids eating at lunchtime? Do the parents send the meals? What happens? And she said, well, the school board and the parents decided the best answer was to have a rolling menu of fast food every day. So it's McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, you name it, every day. I asked her, how do the kids do with that? She said, it's horrible. It's horrible. They have a hard time focusing. They have a hard time sitting in their chairs. And of course, I hate to say it, they're probably a little bit spoiled. They don't take direction well. And that's in the richest town in the Midwest. So I'm gonna say eating crappy food is like a surefire path to not a good place for your children, and never mind the adults in the room either. Okay. So this eating pattern actually fuels the destruction of our health and our planet, period. And it is really hard on the other species, every ecosystem. Our food system is just causing massive destruction in general. Yet we rarely think about it in terms of our children. So that's why I focus on this. This children's nutrition literally gets me up in the morning and puts me to bed at night, because I really love kids. I love my kids, I love your kids, even the kids you don't have yet, I still love them. But it is up to the adults in the room to act. We have to act. We cannot wait for Congress to do it. We can't wait for the president to declare it. Actually, right now, we're in the middle of a UN declared decade of child nutrition. Isn't that amazing? Amazing. Who knew? It's almost over. It's almost over and nobody knew. And one of the effects, probably jumping ahead a little bit, but one of the effects is that the American Academy of Pediatrics just came out with guidelines. Did you hear about these guidelines? You've heard this story, right? Guidelines they came out with in January, the first set of guidelines to manage obesity in children. What the guidelines say, there's nothing in it about prevention. There's nothing in it about what to eat. What's in it is counsel your patients something like 26 times in a year. Who has time to go to the doctor every 2 weeks for a whole year? What doctor has time for you to be in their office every 2 weeks for a year? Counsel your patients 26 times in a year. And if they get to the point, they're 12 years old and they're diagnosed with obesity, we can offer them weight loss medications. I could cry just thinking of this stuff. It just breaks my heart. If that same child or any other gets to be age 13 and they're diagnosed with diabetes, we can offer them bariatric surgery.
Oh, that's awful.
Appalling. It's appalling. This is something we are doing to our children. I want that to sink in so deep that it hurts. We are doing this. We have to stop. It is not appropriate. It's not kind. And actually, it's against basic laws of nature. Any other animal, I'm going to digress from this slide a minute, but so many other animals actually protect their children, right? In fact, humans we teach our children don't play in the traffic, right? Brush your teeth, wash your hands before you eat. Don't drink the stuff that's under the sink with the Mr. Yuck sticker on it, right? Stay away from strangers. We teach them all that, and that's in an effort to get them to survive to adulthood, right? Other species do it, mama bears, lions, whales, dolphins, even spiders take care of their babies, right? But somehow we have fallen off. We've lost track of the importance of food. We've lost track. We have to regain that. Okay, a little bit about marketing. Have you ever gone to a doctor's appointment with your little one and the doctor says, yes, we should probably reduce the screen time? Like, make sure you're drinking the milk, get outside and exercise, reduce screen time, right? So there's two reasons I can see for that. One is it'll increase the child's activity, theoretically, right? The other is it will reduce their exposure to marketing. It takes 9 times of a child seeing a commercial before they start bugging the parents about the thing that they saw. That is a calculated methodology that marketers use. Show the child the thing 9 times, and then they will, it's called pester power. They will go after the parents. Mom, I want that thing, I want that thing, I want that thing. Until finally, the parents are just like, okay, have the thing. But it's also about using our 300,000 years of evolutionary programming to sell this stuff. So bright orange and bright red, these colors attract our unconscious mind, right? Bright orange as far as food goes is great. Oranges, berries, apricots, that sort of thing. Bright orange on a can, not so much, but it's the same trigger. That is one reason McDonald's uses red and yellow. And so many food companies use red and yellow for marketing. Probably telling you stuff you already know. This one. On this side, that's food. Strawberries and gooseberries, I think, or brown cherries or something, and blueberries. And then wax and gelatin, artificially dyed in color to make it look like berries. And our programming actually wants the thing that's going to give us the higher concentration, the more punch of carbohydrate sugar. So we will go for the candy, as well as it's just been addictive. There's another one. Real beans, fake beans, jelly beans. One is food, one is not food, right? But the programming is bright colors, big sugar hit. So we go for the bright colors, right? And for a child, it's there's no thought there. There's no calculation, there's no rationalization, there's no way to hang that and make sense. So we just go for the bright colors. Real food versus not food, right? So corn, and you may know this, something like 98% of the corn grown in this country is GMO corn, and it's used to feed animals. There's a small percentage that goes to people. So assuming that you're getting non-GMO corn, you're getting actually some good fiber, you're getting complex carbohydrates, you get the protein, the minerals, the vitamins. There's great package there for you, right? That other box is totally not food. It was corn. They stripped it of all its nutrients. And then they tell you they're giving you fiber. How wonderful is that? Just such generosity. And they've reduced the sugar from what it was when I was a kid, when it was called sugar frosted flakes. They reduced the sugar. And they dusted it with a little sprinkling of, enriched, vitamin enriched stuff. Still not food. And then what they also do is, again, the colors and the tiger. I apologize if I'm repeating stuff right? But the marketing on that is the tiger and any of those other ones. There's like Lucky Charms, which I like to call honey bunches of marshmallows. And there's Dora the Explorer. And there's all these different, what's that other one? Snap, Crackle, Pop, Rice Krispie Thingies, right? The cartoon character usually has very large eyes, and they are placed at a shelf on a level that will be direct eye contact for your child as they walk by. So it grabs the child's attention. That's just our programming. That's how we're designed. And then they bug you for the thing. That's how it is. Fascinating, actually. There's another one. Real food, not food. Real citrus slices, very colorful, versus sugar-coated gummy candy that's kinds of interesting colors and preservatives and other things that trick us into wanting the quick, easy gummy candy. We really can't help but fall for it. It is totally our programming, and it's like, I don't blame the consumer, except for that we don't know what we're buying into, literally. It's our survival skills, and it's our evolution that has brought it to this. And then you have marketers who take advantage of this, right? Amazing, amazing skill. I often wonder, like, if they really spent their time working on something to sell blueberries or broccoli or Brussels sprouts or avocados or whatever, what a world that would be. That would be a different world. Okay, so that's what happens at home. Now we're looking at school. And I believe right after this, there's somebody who's going to talk about what's going on with school food in New York in particular. I'll digress just a little bit. My nonprofit is physically located in Illinois, and Illinois just passed a law that any child in the public school system, as long as they're receiving a free and reduced school meal that exists in the school, with prior request, the child can receive a plant-based lunch, which is just amazing. Like, I don't even know how they got that law to pass. They sneaked it in under the wire somehow. I don't know. Somebody wasn't watching and they let that one through. But school food is notoriously poor quality. And it has improved from what it was. So there are more than 55 million children and teens that attend public schools. And at this point, up to 50% of the daily calories are consumed at school. Which means that there's a whole lot of processed food and sugar and refined flours that the kids get. There's lots of different ways that the food comes into the school. There's school meals and there's the food and drink that's in the vending machines. And very often in the vending machines, that is a contract between the school and the vending machine company. So the school gets money from that, right? All of these are actually money makers. And then there's outside foods that are brought in by students and parents and teachers for birthdays and holidays and booster clubs and things like that. So 1 in 4 children and adolescents in the US struggle with overweight or obesity. That's something like 18 million children. And according to that document that was put out by the American Academy of Pediatrics, 14.4 million kids struggle with obesity. And that's why we would prefer to give them bariatric surgery. Isn't that something? It's mind-boggling for me. Mind-boggling. 50% of children between the ages of 2 and 15 already have fatty streaks in their arteries. They're on their way to heart disease already by the time they're 2. And then the hypertension is already growing in our children. And it's partly a result of genetics, partly, but it's also a result of this national passion we have for sitting around and eating sugar, salt, fat, and sitting around. That's what we do. There's an estimated almost 27 million people with diabetes. And that was in 2018, so it's probably higher than that now. And about 210,000 were children and adolescents, less than 20 years old. That never used to happen. Type 2 diabetes was called adult onset diabetes. It never used to happen in children, but now it is more and more common. And there's so much that goes along with that. It debilitates the family. Such a burden on the family structure. Really something. And it's, like I said, I'm a public health nurse. We would sit in our office and talk about what is going on with these kids. How is this happening? Well, it's happening because we do it to them. You guys already probably know this one too, that the World Health Organization declared all processed meats carcinogenic in 2015. So much of the population does not know that. So in schools, we're still feeding our children hot dogs and corn dogs and ham sandwiches, breakfast sausages every day. And then we wonder why they're sick. Why is the rate of cancer going up? All this stuff. It's just, you know, once you get to the point of seeing it, and this first part of this talk is very pointed. I want you to see it. So you can never unsee it again. I want you to see this. Because these facts don't come out often. Red meat, also probable carcinogen. And eating any of these foods is associated with increased rates of diabetes, obesity, cancer, hypertension. And I'll add in there cow's milk. It's a whole nother thing. So much of the population can't even digest cow's milk. It's not even about lactose intolerance or not. I'm one of those people. I can't handle cow's milk. It gives me upper respiratory infections and ear infections that nobody knew why I always had ear infections when I was a kid. And it stopped when I stopped drinking. So this stuff, again, not food. Well, wait, unless you're a baby cow. If you're a baby cow, yes. There are no baby cows here. Milk is the bovine growth fluid that should take a 65-pound calf to about a 1,500-pound animal in 2 years. I don't think there's anybody here who wants that, right? Mostly not, yes,
Sorry, I didn't know if this was a big Q&A session afterwards, but I just want to know what about goat milk?
not good. No, I'm sorry, I just said that. That was a total gut reaction. I'm sorry. No, so here's the point is, we are humans. We drink human milk produced by human females only, right? And that is good for as long as the mom is willing to do that. I breastfed for 19 months, that was plenty. I heard women go 5 and 6 years, God bless them, I couldn't. But as long as the mom is willing to go and the baby's willing to take it, wonderful, right? Goat's milk is perfect for baby goats. Cow's milk is perfect for baby cows. There is no reason for us to drink. In fact, we are the only species that drinks another animal's milk well past the age of weaning, right? I was speaking with a doctor just the other day. He said, well, you could just as well drink platypus milk. Go ahead, camel milk. What do you want? You know, no, there's no need. And that other stuff on the other side there, the packages of stuff, not food. But this is what we give our children frequently in school settings, right? It's not food. Actually, for humans, milk and cheese are the single richest source of saturated fat that we have in our diet, right? So let's just extrapolate. We tell our children and give our children on purpose every day on their lunch tray a container of milk, right? And then a couple times during the day when they get home, you know, you get it with cereal and you got to mix in other stuff. Got to make that mac and cheese, you got to mix it in there, right? It's all over the place. There's yogurt, and there's ice cream, there's all kinds of ways that we get it. If it's the richest source of saturated fat, and that doesn't matter even if it's skimmed or 0%, it doesn't matter, it's all very rich, still in fat. It's laying down these streaks in the coronary arteries, fatty streaks, right? It's laying these down, such that by the time the child gets to be 50 to 60 years old, they're probably having a heart attack. Heart attacks kill 655,000 people per year in the United States. Every year for a long time. It's been going on like that every year. And yeah. And we wonder why. So we do it. We make that happen. So these facts are like really super compelling, and there's no reason we can wait any longer. There's also behavioral impacts, right? So these are attention deficit, anxiety, depression, oppositional defiant disorder. These are the most commonly diagnosed kid diagnosis for mental health. 1 in 6 kids diagnosed with a mental or behavioral disorder, and 1 in 36 diagnosed with autism. And actually the autism is rapidly increasing. So in 2006, it was 1 in 144. In 2018, it was 1 in 110 in 2006. In 2018, it was 1 in 44, and now it's 1 in 36. You got one. There's some genetics, but that's a lot of genetic change in that amount of time. It comes about because the way that we eat and what we eat actually causes inflammation in the brain, a lot of it. I'm not going to say that's the only reason, but that's one big reason. We are feeding our children these foods that do not do them any good. It also alters the microbiome. And it does not provide these neurotransmitters which come from these foods. These are the standard set, part of the standard set of neurotransmitters that children need. Just to function, sit, attend, pay attention, not act out, learn, discriminate, remember, then go to sleep at night. They come from these foods. And these foods. Dopamine and serotonin, those are our feel-good transmitters. That's where they come from. But our children are not eating fruits and vegetables, so what's wrong with this picture? We are doing this to our children. This one. Histamine and glutamate, probably the worst reputation, but they're equally important. They're neurotransmitters. But look where they're coming from. Cured meats, milk and dairy, cheese, salamis. Way too excess, way excess, yes.
That's some of the healthiest food you'd have on there with the mushrooms and seeds.
Yes, yes.
That's extremely rich in nutrients.
but our kids are not eating that. Okay, how many kids in here eat mushrooms? 100% of the kids in here eat mushrooms. Not outside here. Good job, you guys. You're doing great. Well done. Well done. These are, and I'm like gonna have to speed up. I'm over time. But so these diagnoses here in bold on this side: ADHD, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder. We give medications to moderate these illnesses, and those medications are actually affecting the levels of those neurotransmitters with the arrows next to them. We want, for example, in ADHD, we want more dopamine, we want more norepinephrine, or in depression, you want more serotonin, more dopamine, and less histamine. You can do that with food. At least give the kid a fighting chance with food. At least, I'm not going to say it's going to cure everything, but dang, you can set them up to win. No, but I know you guys are doing better than the average parents. So this is what we give our kids. All this mess. This does not give any neurotransmitters to anybody. We put our children at risk with these deficits in the diet. So an eating pattern rich in whole plant foods provides the best opportunity for getting a full balanced complement of neurotransmitters and other nutrients. Literally food, they say food is information. Food breaks down to chemicals that communicate with your body and tell your DNA how to replicate and what your cells should be doing as far as immune functions. It's very important. Food is not just something to fill your belly, right? If it was, you could just eat dirt. You'd be fine, right? Well, you might be a little constipated. You'd need water. So what do? Feed your kids fruits and vegetables. Go out and like disrupt an act of rebellion, right? I'm gonna feed my kids spinach, right? This little micro rebellion. You could do strawberries, you could do snow peas, avocados, Brussels sprouts, you name it, cabbage. Let's go through the alphabet. Daikon, radish. Feed your children these strong foods, healthful foods. Feed them. And you have to, of course, demonstrate and model the behavior yourself. So I encourage you to keep that stuff out of your house. The garbage foods, the non-foods, keep it out of your house. Keep it out of your car. And every time you go to a restaurant, get plant foods. Ask for plant foods. Even if they don't exist at that restaurant, it'll be like this little act that you're doing. Excuse me, can I have a salad? You know, and the person will say, we have some iceberg lettuce. Just keep asking, right? Make it important. And then maybe through those acts of rebellion, you could be the one. You could be the one to like tip the scale and allow biodiversity to come. What a legacy to leave. You could stop these crazy virus pandemics and these illnesses that are taking our children. In the last 6 years, the CDC has decreased our children's life expectancy 4 times. We need to stop that. We need to disrupt that. That is not okay. It is not appropriate. I ought to be fighting out in the street for that, right? So we can be the ones to do this. We can stop the high blood pressure and the pandemics and all that. And if we all did this together, we could actually teach our children. It might be the one thing that we can actually control that would make a difference. And then you'd have some little bright, healthy children. They grow up to be beautiful, healthy adults who will fight for a vibrant world because we need that. There's no other way. And really the role modeling that we do, we're the only answer. We're it. It's the only thing we can do. We can't wait for the government to do it, obviously. So eat a variety of plants every day, all kinds. Go through the alphabet. See if you can find a plant that starts with Z. I don't know what that one is, but find them. Go through the alphabet. Give your kids that stuff.
Zucchini.
Zucchini, there it is. Wow. Okay, why? Give me why.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Good, yes, right, yucca, good, yeah, beautiful. Thank you. The main thing is you have to like demonstrate it, show it, do it yourself and teach your children. And that alone could change the world, literally. One person, one child, one family, one generation, one school, one entire neighborhood at a time. Take pictures of these slides, these last several, just so you have a place you can go for more information. So plant-based nutrition movement, that's the one I lead. I mean, I love you to come there. I'm not like saying that's the only one. But you can become a member, it's free. We talk about this stuff all the time. I will even support you personally in launching a 6 Million Seeds project in your area. These are communities that you can reach out to. T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies is amazing. Dr. Anna Negron, if you know anybody who speaks Spanish and would like a Spanish version, she's got online Zoom classes and she talks about all of this. She's wonderful. There's the Plant Strong community, Seventh-day Adventists, amazing group of people. Their theology is based on healthy nutrition. And then of course, Physicians for Responsible Medicine, who will be speaking right after me, I think. If you want to transform your school environment, you can start big, you can start small. New York is actually in a really great place for getting that done. But these are all organizations that work with school food environment. Sometimes you can start just by asking the teacher, please don't give Skittles every time they finish a vocabulary test or a math test or something. So we're looking for 6 million people, literally. So if you're up for the challenge, I'm happy to talk to anyone about it. Yeah, so thank you very much for your time. So did anybody have questions? We have a couple minutes, I think. Yes.
What is the role of the medical community in changing people's habits in nutrition?
You know what? That is such a good question. So medical community, the role is big. Let me say that. I'll count myself in that population, right? Very big, very important. If medical and healthcare professionals actually spoke to people about the importance of what they eat, people would listen more likely, right? You probably know, you've tried talking to your family and friends and they won't listen, right? They don't listen. You can't be a prophet in your own way, right? You can't tell people anything. But a doctor does have a certain amount of sway, and so do nurse practitioners and other providers, right? So it's really powerful. The challenge is that doctors don't know this information themselves. And there is a negative incentive for them so that they don't share this information. Our medical industry is a for-profit business. And if we start telling people that they don't have to come in for their metformin, or they don't have high blood pressure, they don't have heart attack, well, that impacts the health system's bottom line, and that is not okay. So there's this little, there's a tension there that has yet to be resolved.
How do you think that can be changed?
There are so many ways. A lot of it has to do with how you educate the doctors coming in. The old guard is set in their ways until maybe they have a heart attack. Maybe they get it that way. But you know, that's a good question. That's a gnarly one, you know. It takes educating, and then that you don't have this financial pull to keep doing the same stuff that you know is actually harming people. Any other questions? Yes.
Michelle had programs in schools, like changing the lunches. I can't remember what it's called.
Move.
How did they test it out to see if it was effective?
So that program is actually still in place. I think she did a pretty good job of making it, you know, like weaving it in. So it's hard to extricate. Although our previous administration did their best to undo that sort of thing. You know, I think it has been somewhat effective, but children, if they're not used to a particular type of food, they'll just throw it away. There's a lot of waste that happens, right? And if it's not something where you give the child like a taste test and you entice them and you make it fun and you give them stickers or whatever you do, right? It just goes, actually they call that neophobia, right? I'm afraid of anything new in food especially. So they just will throw it away. So it takes a certain finesse to get those kids to eat those foods. And then the quality is important. Then there's this whole wrapping in of how much it costs. It's a convoluted question. But that is really, if kids are getting up to 50% of their calories at school, that's critical.
What about fast food restaurants? Fast food now is pretty expensive. I mean, I don't eat it often. I'll just take like talking about the story and a smoothie once in a while, and that's it. But it's just so expensive. Why can't they just add like vegetables, like top vegetables, like broccoli, carrots, and French fries? Yeah, this is a simple swap.
Yeah. You mean in the fast food restaurant itself?
Yeah, I mean, instead of offering those like junk food or like powdered potatoes. Like,
So I'm going to put it this way, this is my own personal conspiracy theory after many years of research. Okay. There is a very tight connection between our food system and our medical system and our chemical system and our agricultural, and there's all this interconnectedness. And if one area starts to drop profits, it affects all the other areas. They start losing profit, right? And nobody wants to do that. So it gets to be a bit like collusion. I'm sorry to say. So a lot of times, for example, there's a set of gas stations up where I live. I live in the dairy state, right? I think they're called Quick Trip, maybe it's called. They actually are owned by a dairy company. So it's dairy and gas. And you walk into their store and there's no non-dairy anything happening in that store. Not even in they're maybe in their little coffee area, but I don't even think they're. It's a very deep system, very deep roots. Yes.
I have a very practical parent question. What do you tell like people that work with you on how to handle like birthday parties where there's pizza and cupcakes at every event? And I even have a kid who is gluten-free too, so
That's even more challenging, right?
yeah.
So I have to talk with the little one. And I know a lot of people will relax about the guidelines that they're following, relax for birthday parties or holidays.
Okay.
They'll relax if it's not a thing where the child is going to get sick.
Yeah.
Right. You can also go to the host of the party and say, my child can't physically, he won't tolerate these things. Would it be okay if I brought X thing for them, and I could bring enough to share for everyone, and then it's more inclusive.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit of a tightrope to walk.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
so that what policies are trying to do
Policies, I know of none. Okay, and this is probably the last question. I think I'm getting signals, but okay, I'm going to say this as delicately as I can, but keep in mind there's this collusion, right? There's this very carefully orchestrated and planned stuff that happens. None of this is by accident, right? So in areas where there are food deserts, those populations serve a purpose. And it is not in some people's best interest to have them high functioning and bright thinking and fighting for a healthy world, right? So it takes, in those cases, it would take the people in those neighborhoods getting together and standing up and saying, we've had enough. And we're going to work together. We're going to carpool to the grocery store. We're going to make sure that we share these recipes, we cook together, we work together. It has to become a grassroots effort because there is nobody coming to save those areas. There's nobody coming. I'm sorry, the nitty gritty of that one. Okay, I think I'm probably way over. Thank you all for your attention and your time. Oh, you're welcome.
We appreciate it. And if you all could hang just one moment, we have one more person pertinent to this topic coming up real quick just to tell us about an initiative in New York State and kind of the Physicians Committee